This is Ryan and Parker from Silencer Central here. Very common question we get sometimes when a guy actually receives a suppressor is, why is my gun no longer grouping? There is a lot of underlying problems that may be causing this. There's also a lot of benefits to you adding a suppressor to actually help you with your group. So why don't you talk a little bit about maybe some of the benefits that the suppressor is going to give you when it comes to adding it to your firearm prior to having it?
Absolutely. First and foremost, there's always going to be a POI shift, and anybody that says there isn't is either uneducated or lying. The biggest thing what it does is it doesn't have any magic or voodoo inside of it or anything. It's not going to make your gun shoot any better. What it is going to do is it's going to indirectly make you a better shooter. For instance, the suppressors we sell in the Banish series have an estimated 40% recoil reduction and a great sound reduction as well, which in turn, over the course of time, once you get used to shooting with your suppressor, is going to make you a better shooter because of the less anticipated flinch and bang of the gun.
All right, big time. And you also get muzzle rise reduction, as well as a direct recoil reduction too. So that's, in general, that's going to get some either new shooters or guys that have been doing it a long time, a lot more comfortable with either their larger firearms, or obviously even smaller stuff has recoil. So if you can back that off, you're going to be on target more, and it's a big deal. Also, let's say you do have a very wide group at 100 yards. So sometimes that will happen when you add a suppressor to the end of your firearm. And the main reason that may do so is either A, your threading is not bore centric. If you have a factory firearm that was pre-threaded from a manufacturer, sometimes their quality control is not always perfect. So bores are not always centered within the threads. That is something that you can either buy alignment rods to actually check, or we can absolutely do so for you as well. Another thing that may be causing a shift would be if you are running, let's say for example, just a general AR that has either a shoulder ring or a crush washer. What that can do is that can time that suppressor off to the side a little bit, and that's something you don't necessarily want by any means, because that could obviously A, give you that point of impact shift that's massive, but you also could get a baffle strike, which is worst case scenario. So make sure you're cleaning all that stuff up, making sure your threads are nice and square. And then another thing is, when it comes to just adding a suppressor in general, a lot of guys who have either, I would say, entry-level rifles would be the way I'd nicely like to word it, may already have an underlying barrel harmonics issue that the suppressor amplifies. At gun shows and stuff, I like to use the words like, you got a tuning fork and you added a rubber band to it. So that's going to change how that gun reacts when it comes to you firing around, which could increase that. There is some fixes for that, like either doing like bedding blocks or doing a gas bedding system, something like that. And again, if you do find out that that is an issue of yours, that's something you can call us and we can help you kind of walk through what it's going to take to get that thing grouping properly.
The first time you get your suppressor, if there is a little bit, inconsistency as far as shooting goes, obviously the first thing you're going to be able to eliminate is the suppressor being the problem. Check it. You'll be able to tell if there's a baffle strike, if there's something in the end of the suppressor that doesn't look right or anything, that's going to be the worst case scenario, like you said.
For sure.
Otherwise, if it looks good, it's something else going on. It's not going to be the suppressor.
Yeah, it could be your optic not being done right. There's a lot of guys that obviously don't lap rings or anything, which will allow that kind of optic to sit crooked, which either won't allow you to get your elevation in your windage turret to where you want a zero. There's hundreds of things on why your firearm may not be grouping properly. So it's definitely not always the silencer. Make sure you check us out at silencercentral.com, as well as on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. We appreciate your business. Thanks.